Welcome to, I'm going to say number 3. If I'm being very organised and number 1 and number 2 have gone out, then that's been absolutely fine. This is the 3rd in the 52 podcast series. And welcome. My name is Martin Ainsworth and I'm here with Andrea. Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. We're in the United States.
We are.
We're in the international office.
Yes.
And it's been snowing.
Very snowy and
A lot
cold.
of people couldn't make it in yesterday.
No.
I'm really intrigued in what you do in your role.
Yes. What do I do?
What do you do? So first of all, tell me your official job title.
My official title is Director of Human Resources.
Okay.
Yes. And I work under Dave on the WLT.
Now, WLT is something else I'm intrigued about, and we'll talk about that a little bit afterwards. So, human resources, people.
People.
I mean,
People.
I do my best to find good people. I try my best not to be rude to the awkward people. But in HR, like, what is the most, if I could say, what are the best qualities that you look for in somebody? What 3 things would you say they are?
I would start off with honesty. Someone
Okay.
who's very open and transparent from the beginning. Responsive. That shows to me that they are interested. And have a strong calling on their heart. So they have are in tune with the Lord and they know
Okay.
what they're wanting to do. That usually means that it's going to work out well. It's really anywhere you place them because it's based on them being in tune with what the Lord wants.
That's very good. And sticking around, like, how long do
Yes.
people generally, I mean, is there a pattern? Like, people come for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Does it change depending on how old they are? Is there a...
Honestly, in general, once people get in, they don't leave. And I think that says a lot for our organization as a whole, is that we are like a family when it comes down to it. You may have the typical employee issues in the day-to-day, but when it comes to the end, is we're all here to serve the Lord, and it's a mission to find lost youth. And so I think that brings us all together. And so it really, people get a hold of that and they just don't tend to want to leave after that. It's great.
That is a good thing. I mean, because there are people that have been around for years, people that go away and they come back and things like that. So how many people are you kind of responsible for ensuring are behaving themselves?
Oh, goodness. That scope is changing, I feel like, and evolving. Initially, I was really focused on our U.S. staff who are on our payroll. And that has really expanded as I've moved on to the WLT, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
And really trying to think, how can we strategically, in a broader sense, from your team to other teams, work well together and be effective and make sure we're all on the right track together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's something that I've certainly noticed over certainly the last 6-12 months is the change in the way that people are respecting each other's roles and trying to address like the balance between not men versus women or anything like that, but the balance of who is in our leadership and things like that. And it's been really interesting to watch that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely been some changes over the past year. I got on the WLT in the last year, and that's been a big change for me personally, but I think for the WLT as well. But they really wanted an HR representation on that team as well, because I am touching more globally than I ever have been. And so the goal is that, yeah, it's working together more holistically than just siloed out.
That's it. So the WLT, which stands for?
World Leadership Team.
World Leadership Team.
Yes.
That's quite, I mean, when you say quickly, you're like, oh, I'm on the World Leadership Team. Yeah. But the reality of that is it comes with a lot of responsibility and kind of like the ability to shape and mold the organization in a particular way.
It does. Yeah. And it consists, the part I love about it most is my interaction more with the world. So you have area leaders on that team and you have area reps. And that part is fun for me to really get a true sense of what's happening on the field worldwide. And so that I'm not just creating policies behind my desk and sending them out, but not having a good perspective on what the need is. And and to just really change my perspective on the role that I do and how I serve.
And you feel that's been something that's happened, that your perspective on your role and the impact that HR has, you've really noticed that?
Yeah, and maybe where there is more of a desire to have support and help from our office and from my desk worldwide, and support and advice or templates or things like that can help our ministries grow and thrive. So,
because that's one of the reasons why this kind of podcasting has been kind of, I suppose, happening.
Yeah.
Because I travel and people go, so who is, and they'll be like, Dave, can you tell me more about Dave? Or they'll be like training the field team, like HR. There's this thing from Andrea. Who's Andrea? So I was like, let's introduce some of these people. Let's unpack what actually they do and where they fit into the organization.
I love that. And I think that's a core value of mine is transparency and communication across the org. I feel like historically maybe there's been some like people each doing their own things but not communicating about it. So how can we overall communicate better with one another? And how can I contribute to that? How can I let people know the movings and the comings and goings of things in our org? And just have everybody aware of what's happening. So
it's changing the culture.
Yeah.
Changing the way, not changing the way that we do things, but changing the culture in the way that we're able to stand alongside, to support, to help, and that there's no suspicion like, what do you want? If you're doing this for me, it's a case of we're the International Service Center, we're the international office. How can we help?
Right. We have your best interest at heart, and we really are just trying to figure out ways to provide resources and tools and wanting to know what we should put our energy into to provide that for the field.
So the tools, any kind of tools, resources and bits and pieces, if anybody wanted to access them, is there an easy way that they can find them, or is it easier just to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I've been very diligent about trying to keep YFCI World up to date with my piece of things.
Okay.
So there's a whistleblower policy out there. I think I put our handbook out there that we use that you could tag team off of and create for your own. There's our org chart that I've always, as it's changing, I'm keeping that updated. So yeah, I have a whole maybe tab of my own.
Wow.
But I know there's also other tabs too for other departments doing similar things.
So it's really important that not only they access those resources, but they keep their own resources and information up to date as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Any final words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Goodness. I think it's just always leaning into what the Lord has for us and keeping true to our calling and giving each other grace in the hard times, but also focusing on moving the movement forward and what we can do to reach more youth with the current times. So
perfect. Andrea, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit and be grilled by me. And so everybody, you can access the resources, keep your own resources up to date, and follow any links that we stick at the bottom of this article. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time.